Welcome to Quantum Touch Radio, supercharging your life with Jennifer Noel Taylor. Jennifer takes you on a quantum journey to discover how to supercharge your life working with universal healing quantum touch principles. Imagine knowing how to accelerate, revitalize, and engage in ways you've never experienced. In this hit show, we reveal powerful, simple steps to create more abundance, better health, emotional and mental vibrancy, and happier relationships. Imagine being simple and supercharged to cultivate life force energy for yourself and others. Get ready to be astounded. Now, here's your host.
Everyone, welcome to Quantum Touch Radio. I'm your host, Jennifer Noel Taylor. And we have an amazing show lined up today. I'm super excited about our guest today, Dr. Judit Povall. She has a PhD in chemistry, so she comes from a very scientific background. And I love her profile where she says she would not describe herself as a person who sits on the clouds and has conversations with fairies. She said she's probably the biggest skeptic to ever attend an energy healing course. So when she went to her first Quantum Touch workshop back in 2007, she said there were two possibilities. One is she finally found what I was looking for, a straightforward way to access the inner healer, or two, she had gone completely mad. So I'd like to get started talking to Dr. Judit Povall about all things quantum touch. And I thought we'd just dive right into the hot topic today, which has gotten a lot of views on our YouTube channel, which is the topic of telekinesis. So for those you don't know, I recently posted a video of Judit demonstrating telekinesis, which is moving objects with consciousness or life force energy. And got some controversy on that video and a lot of interest. And so I thought dive right in. And if you could describe, how did you do that? How are you doing telekinesis?
Oh, hello, everyone. Hello, Jennifer. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to. I think telekinesis is super fun. It's a great game. It doesn't require any kind of belief. And it's actually good to be skeptic because that doesn't lead you to the wrong way of believing something that is not real. So I started playing with telekinesis over the lockdowns when I was so bored that I just didn't know what to do anymore. And I thought, I'll try this before, completely failed really badly. And maybe this time it was going to work. So I came across Sean McNamara's work, and his teaching was very simple. I thought that, this is a kind of quantum touch approach that I should really try, and my scientific brain could adopt that because it wasn't anything magical, mystical. It's just purely fun, and I only had to do what I was always doing with quantum touch, like breathe and sweep, and open my heart and be really present. And just try to move that little tin foil on the top of a needle. So I learned a lot from these experiments, not just about myself, but about energy as well. It taught me about focus. It taught me about presence, a bit more expansive presence. It taught me more about my beliefs and doubts. I had to recheck because I could not believe what was happening. So first I started with, hands-on and this glass bulb and this glass vase. And I thought, it must be some other factors playing a role, like my hands are too hot. So it's a convection that moves the foil inside. So I actually hold my hands away from the glass, and it still moved. And the next stage was like not even holding my hands around, just literally sitting away from this whole experimental setup, and the foil still could move if I was in the right state, basically. And that was the most exciting thing, that If it's, if it's something like cheating, or if it's not real, everything works exactly the same way. If it's something to do with the heat or the room or the temperature, it would always result in the same way. But it actually just experiencing that I really need to be there in that state to allow things to happen. That was the biggest and the greatest feedback for me, that it is something real happening. So it was super fun.
Awesome. You said something really interesting that I wanted to cover. You were saying that you can't do this type of stuff if you're in ego. Can you explain that a little more, what that means for our audience?
Yes, of course. Just releasing all control and releasing all wanting, and releasing this kind of urge that we have to make a decision about how things work. We all have a kind of understanding that how telekinesis could work, but you actually have to drop everything. You have to just forget everything in order to make things work how they're supposed to, how it tends to be working. So it is actually quite challenging to get away from that. I know everything. I know how things are. I'm a scientist. I read books. I heard this. I watched this video. I'm working with energy. It should be easy, or it should be super hard, or whatever you have got in your mind, you have to completely let go. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. But the good thing is that, because if you can get into this really playful mode, when you're easy about it, you feel this is fun, it's enjoyment rather than a task to complete, then this is the state that we're looking for. When we are in a inner child mode, and there's no desire to prove anything, there's no stake, we're just there for the fun bit. So I would say that, whoever wants to experiment with this, pick the time when there's no pressure, you just in a really easy, really fun mood, and you can just allow things to happen rather than kind of proving that you know everything about energy, or you're an energy worker, and therefore it's going to work for you. It may well, but may not well work.
So basically, in a nutshell, you're saying that consciousness affects matter.
Yes, absolutely, totally. I would describe it as a two type of mode. I've got my human mode when I live my normal life. I've got 3 children. I've got this. I wouldn't call it job, teaching quantum touch. It's more like a craft, my passion. And then I make breakfast, I read books, I go shopping, and then there's this other type of mode that I can tune into when I basically tune into this energy world, where everything works in a different way, where the different rules apply. I would say different rules, but to be honest, since we into quantum physics now, that it's not so different than it was before. But yeah, it's a different energy. It's a different, very expansive state of beingness. And yes, the consciousness affects matter, absolutely, undoubtedly.
Hey, I've been looking on the internet. I actually did a search. Can consciousness affect matter? It's interesting that it's up for debate. There's some people who believe it does, and some people who believe it doesn't. And it seems to be a little bit mysterious as to the mechanism, I guess. It's called the hard problem of consciousness. And how exactly does this immaterial thought, what's going on in our head, affect reality? So I just any comments on, what's that? How does that integrate?
Yes, yeah, of course. How I see this is that these experiences out of our understanding, because our understanding is within boundaries, whatever we can describe with words, whatever we can describe with rules and physics and any kind of logic, it's already within limitations, that whatever we can understand in the mind, in the brain, it is within boundaries. So if we would like to expand ourselves beyond these boundaries, we have to let go this kind of urge, this desire of, understanding everything and making logical sense, things making logical sense. Because, to be honest, I would say that don't believe anything. I don't believe anything, but that doesn't stop me experimenting with things. So if you say that, okay, I don't believe that consciousness, affects matter, or I do believe consciousness affects matter, for me, it's pretty much the same thing. It's based on your beliefs and not your experiments or not your own experience. So I would say just leave your belief out of it. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It doesn't matter what you think about it. Reality is not what you're thinking, because your thinking or our thinking is very, very limited. We can only think what's known to us. It's impossible to think about something that we don't know. And just start experimenting, just start to say that, okay, I don't know, let's keep this open, let's just see what happens. My beliefs, either non-beliefs or beliefs, are not going to stop me from playing with this. Let's see where this journey takes me, let's see if it's real or not real. And as soon as it drops into your experience, there's not a question anymore of, oh, do you believe this? Or why don't you believe consciousness affects matter? It would be like fact. It would be like your own. Nobody ever has to tell you to believe it or not believe it, or nobody has to prove anything, because it's simply yours. And you may not be able to describe all of these happenings because it's beyond understanding. But somehow you would be able to tune into this allowing state where energy flows when you just basically expand yourself beyond your physical, your human boundaries, and just magical things start to happen.
Well, on that topic, hold that thought. We have a quick break, and then we'll be back and we'll continue to talk about how to achieve these states of consciousness. So we'll be back. Welcome back. You're listening to Quantum Touch Radio. I'm your host, Jennifer Taylor. And on the show today, we have Judit Povall, Dr. Judit Povall. And we've been talking about kind of two states of being, a state of being, what we call normal everyday consciousness, like as Judit said, cooking breakfast, and then the expanded state of consciousness, which some people refer to as field consciousness or quantum consciousness, where the realm of all possibilities exists, such as we've been talking about telekinesis. I wanted to mention a couple of things. One is after the next break, in about 15 minutes, we'll take callers. You can call into the show at 1-800-930-2819. Again, 1-800-930-2819. You can ask us any questions, all questions Quantum Touch. And then another thing I wanted to talk about is how can we apply this expanded state of consciousness to healing work. So telekinesis is super fun, but How have you seen that work with clients?
Mm. This is a really, really good question. I'm grateful for that. It takes you to a very, very different place. If you expand your focus, your presence, and if you tune into the state of love, and if you realize that how important that your connection to the other, I would call it, entanglement, how much it helps the process if you are one with either the object or either the other person or even yourself. It really changes everything. It's a real game changer. But I found that it takes you to a place where there are no boundaries, that usual healing related expression don't really make sense. You just have got this vast space where you're not even holding the other person. You are one with the other person. But you're not one through your mind. You just lose your own boundaries. Just everything just ceases to exist. I think Richard was talking about this experience in his book of Secret Nature of Matter, when he just fell through, seems to be fallen through somebody's physical body, because it's suddenly just physical reality ceased to exist. So this is the place where even things like intention cannot be doesn't make any sense anymore, because this, in this vast space, it's the energy just finds its own way to express itself. You don't see good or bad, you don't see different conditions, you don't see anything that you would usually see in your mind, and put things into categories that this person's got this condition or that condition or emotional healing or this and that. Nothing like this exists here, just pure infinite energy.
I suppose when people talk about getting out of the way, I've heard probably healers or other people say it's important to get out of the way. I think that's what you're describing, correct?
Yes, it is. I believe it is. And it's probably a little bit more getting out of the way completely. Yes, losing the ego. These, I would say, silly games like telekinesis is this. Our teacher, again, because would emphasize that state, that where you need to be when you do this kind of healing work through the infinite. But yeah, you have to lose everything. You have to lose your mindset, your knowledge, your thoughts, your categories, your analysis, your knowing or your not knowing, absolutely everything, and just look beyond all of these things. And then transformation can happen. Yeah.
Right. Because it seems like when you tap into that space of infinite love, where you're connected to all that is, the highest good happens. Right. So like the highest potential can happen. Is that what you've experienced with clients?
Yes, it is. So I found that whatever I have got intention, even if I've got the best intention for the other person, it's still limited to my understanding. It limits me of what I can imagine for the other person can become in the wellness. way, or it also limits the possible ways, and it limits everything. So if I'm working from my usual place, whatever I do and however I do it is still kind of limited in a way. But if I just work through the infinite and just tune into this infinite energy, that I don't need to make a decision. I don't even need to picture the other person in perfect health, because it would naturally happen, whatever is the best for them. But the best for them is beyond my understanding, and probably, beyond that person understanding as well. So I feel that this is an incredibly powerful work, and much more can happen and happens than what we can imagine or intend.
Great. Yeah, so we have a few minutes before our next break, but I wanted to talk a little bit about your upcoming workshop, The Gateway to the Infinite. I'd love for you to describe what people will learn, more information.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited about this. I've been teaching quantum touch for 10 years now, and during this time, I got a lot of question about people who don't seem to do anything, just in their presence that transformation happens. And people started to ask me that, okay, well, what do they do? We don't understand. We understand, the usual methods of energy healing and whatever we work with here in the courses, but what do they do? And I didn't know the answer to that. But then people on the course, they went home, and sometimes I got feedbacks like, I went into work, I didn't even do anything, and people told me that, oh, I came in with this problem, and that I feel so good now. What did you do? And nobody kind of intend to do anything. They just brought this infinite love with them wherever they went, so work or bus or whatever. And then I experienced this myself on the courses, because the teacher's gift is that we can kind of expand during teaching. And then I realized that transformation happens when I'm in this very, very deep presence. So I started to put the puzzles together, but I didn't connected all the dots until I came across one of my friends become really ill, and that was my turning point when this transformation happened. That was over and beyond all my knowledge that I had before. That this provided the base for this new course that I'm offering now, just turning this experience into a teachable method, basically, so I can pass this on to others who feel that it's their way as well.
So just we have like a 1 minute before our break, but what happened to your friend? You said you discovered this when your friend was really ill?
Yes, she was in a hospital with a very serious condition, and nobody could help her anymore. And I went in to see her, and it was a real turning point that evening. And well, we tried everything. Nothing seem to be working, and I just basically sat next to her, put my hand on her, and let go of everything. I let go of everything what I learned before, all the techniques, all the intention, and I had this promise that if she was going to recover, then I will start teaching this course and pass this knowledge on.
And so did she recover?
She recovered. She basically
She
recovered
recovered.
in that moment, only in that moment when I let everything go. I mean, everything, like as we said, that
Mhm.
just tune into this vast space. I didn't have any expectations, nothing. And she did in that moment, literally, we could feel that she started to recover and she's all well and very healthy.
Wow.
So I'm fulfilling
Wow.
my promise there.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is sometimes people, we get emails here at Quantum Touch. People have tried everything and nothing seems to be working. And that sounds like your situation. You guys had tried everything and she wasn't getting better. And then you let go. You connected to the infinite state of consciousness and you let go. And it was that started to shift things. So we'll talk a little bit more about this after the break, and we'll also take your calls, and we'll be back. Well, welcome back. You're listening to Quantum Touch Radio. I'm your host, Jennifer Taylor. And on the show today, we have Dr. Judit Povall. She's Quantum Touch instructor and ambassador. And we've been talking about field consciousness, how to go to expanded states of consciousness, and what actually happens during sessions when you reach this state. And she was telling her story about her friend that was in the hospital and pretty much didn't look like she was going to make it. And Judit Judit let go. She reached this state of consciousness, and it really shifted things for her friend. So when we do healing work and we can go into that expanded awareness, I believe that what happens is that the highest good transpires. So that we let go of our categories. I'm summarizing what Judith's been talking about, but we let go of our categories, our beliefs, our constructs, what we think is real, and we just let things unfold for the highest good. And from that expanded state of consciousness, and pretty amazing. We've seen Judith's had some pretty amazing healing stories, and we've seen telekinesis happen from that place. And I'm really fascinated by these expanded states of consciousness. And Judith will be teaching a course on how to get into this state called The Gateway to the Infinite. It's taking place in November. And it requires having taken level 1 with Quantum Touch and level 2, and it builds on the material from both of those classes. And I took a course. I took this course from Judith, and I just one of the things that has eluded me that's been really challenging with energy is how do you reach this state? I think meditators spend years meditating to reach this state. You're sitting there, you're meditating, you're like, I'm not reaching this state. And I've been what's amazing about Judith's course is that she gives you very clear steps to reach that expanded state of consciousness where everything is all connected. And the first course I've ever taken where I feel like, okay, I have these concrete steps to reach that state. And whereas before, just trying to meditate, you're just kind of lost. It's a bit haphazard. So I really love the course. I hope you guys get a chance to take it and explore kind of what do you call the state you did? I call it field consciousness. Do you have a name for it?
I like that name, field of consciousnness. Yeah, field consciousness is great. Yes. Yeah, infinite. Yes.
Infinite consciousness. Yeah. Field consciousness. I've heard it in the literature called field consciousness, called infinite consciousness, quantum consciousness. So I hope you guys get a chance to take this course. And we have a caller. So David from Nevada is on the line. Can we take your question?
David, you're on the line. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi?
Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. Hey, we got some background noise, Jacob, from what we just said. But David, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Great. Well, welcome to
I was
the
just
show. Yes. So
turning down the podcast so it's not in the way.
oh, that's what happened. Okay, that's what we're hearing. Okay, great. So what's your did you have a question for Judith?
No, not a question as much as I sent an email to her when she was sending a query out about telekinesis, and I just sent an email to her saying, "Do you want to discuss this?" Because I know of a lot of cases, so many cases that the military studies this because there's so many reported incidents in the last 20 years where people under duress have done some amazing things and have caused an actual offshoot of studying how to try to teach people to do this willfully. And that's a neat trick. But under duress, people are doing all kinds of things. I would relate a personal story and some other examples of like things that happen very commonly to special operators in the field.
Great. Yeah, let's hear it.
Yep.
Definitely.
Oh, okay. Is this on the podcast now, or are we recording?
Yeah, we're on the podcast. This is live. You're live. Yes.
Okay, I have a big delay here. I'm nowhere near normal communications. So we've been studying cases under duress. A lot of special operations guys, which in the last 20 years have been compiling all these incidents, and like I say, that they're studying, where guys have actually moved. Literally, a guy will move a vehicle out of the way. A guy will. I've actually stopped the vehicle once it was rolling. It looked like it hit a brick wall, and it broke. It broke the vehicle. The two things were, and this is not exactly telekinesis where you're moving stuff, but I have done this a couple of times under duress where I'm standing in one place, and if I stay there, I'm not going to exist any longer, and all of a sudden I'm 50 feet over to one side or another and out of the way. And I've even done that and drugged someone with me one time who hit a wall and couldn't understand what had just happened. We used to write these off amongst ourselves as miracles, but when you retire and you're looking at 60 miracles in your life, that's hard to explain. Then an incident happened for me a couple years ago where a friend's dog ran into a parking lot and ran right under a car, right under a tire. And when I saw that, I just turned. I had a response, just like I was in combat. I turned and I just yelled no, and that car stopped. It actually rolled over the dog. It was a little tiny dog. It rolled over. It looked like it rolled over the dog. It came to a halt. The dog ran out from underneath the car and ran back to its owner. We went over there. The dog didn't have a scratch. Didn't have any injuries. We took it to the emergency hospital, had it x-rayed, everything. I saw the tire go over the dog. And that's when I realized that, I might be manifesting this. And you start studying further. And I'm also a Reiki practitioner, so I'm real aware of channeling energy, and come to a conclusion that I think I manifested that. Well, then I talked to a friend who's involved in various research projects for the government. He said, yeah, they're studying this. This is being reported all over from Afghanistan and Iraq by our guys. They're literally stopping things from happening. Then when I review my experiences over there, I go like, well, yeah, that maybe this explains why I can be in a vehicle that's not armored, have an IED go off right outside my window, and me and nobody in my vehicle gets hurt. Vehicle gets all beat up. Nobody has a bruise. Nobody has a hearing problem. Literally, that's happened to me 3 times. You start to realize that you're channeling something. You don't know how you're doing it, but you're channeling something. As I said, the government compiling these incidents and studying it, and literally they're looking for ways to actually teach this as well as what they were saying during the podcast. How do you relate this to people? How do you get them in the zone? But under duress, everybody's capable of doing this. I truly believe that. It's just a matter of not accepting what's happening and being open. I think a part of this is being open to allowing this energy to channel through you. It's that simple. And this is not thinking about it. If you think about it and experimenting with it, I have only been able to wiggle the lightest of foils, at about 2 feet, which I discovered accidentally. I was trying to knock over a stiff piece of paper, but behind it, this little piece of foil was there, started rattling around while I was doing it. I realized that I could move the foil. I couldn't move the paper yet. But under duress, I have had so many incidents where I call it phase shifting. I just move someplace else. Incidents where it seems as if there's a bubble around you. And I was 25, 30 meters from 600 pounds of explosives going off once with a guy. And I grabbed him, threw him to the ground, held on to him. And then when it was all over, our friends were like 100 meters away. They must have assumed the worst, but when we stood up and dusted ourselves off, they were all amazed. I go and we never understood how that stuff like that could happen. But I meet lots of guys in the special operations world who can tell you the same stories. I'm not actually extra talented or anything. It's just that you have to be open to this energy.
That's amazing.
You there?
Those are great stories. I mean, yeah. Can you hear us? Yeah. I guess we have a delay, but I was just saying, that's, thank you for sharing that. That's really amazing. And it's so
we've had other situations. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go.
Oh, go ahead.
We've had other situations in training that is leading us to believe that everyone is capable of precognition. You just have to train the mind to it. We're doing a certain kind of training that keeps speeding up people's reactions so your ability to react to a situation and react correctly. We develop training programs to hone that, and people have been going through this training. It's something you keep going back to hone the skills and keep them up. People have been doing this for a few years, have started to literally know what's going to happen while they're still in the dark. You're literally in the dark, or you're literally blanked out by a big screen of the situation you're going to have to respond to. And literally people are developing 3 to 10 second lead times where they know exactly what's going to happen on the other side. That you could develop precognition in everybody. The more people channel the energy, the more people who make these snap decisions, the better they get at it and the faster they get at it. This is all could be developed. But as far as normal stuff, wiggling a little foil is the best anybody can do. Same guys who have literally smashed their way through walls and doors without a bruise can't do much more than wiggle a little piece of foil with all their will when they're just doing it consciously, not under duress. It's crazy.
Wow. I mean, thanks for sharing. Thanks for calling. That's really amazing. Yeah. Judith, did you have a comment on that?
Yes, it's a fascinating story. There's 2 things that I would like to add. One is that I love the way that you're saying that nobody understood what happened and how it happened. And I love that because yes, it's beyond understanding and beyond thoughts. And as you said, that it's just logically doesn't make sense, but it still happens. And the other thing is that, yes, the key is here, or for me, the excitement in this and the drive is that how can I help everybody to tune into this state? Definitely not under duress. I'm working through a different energy, but I can understand that this could be very, very powerful when you haven't got a choice. You got no options. There's only one option. And that's going to be delivered in that moment that you don't even know what it is, but it's going to solve this kind of situation. So my way is more like teaching through this state of love, this allowing, and I'm absolutely sure that everybody can get there. And yes, maybe the first step is a piece of foil, but I don't really see that much difference. I just feel that it's our mind making up the difference. Like if you say they're going through the wall and moving a tin foil, for me is the same thing. There's the only difference is in our brain, because it puts things in different categories. So for me, it's a little success is good, a big success is great. Yeah. And I would love to see and experience that people wake up to their potential, and yes, through this kind of allowing state where there's no thinking, there's no logic involved, just purely allowing. All kind of things can happen, and I think everybody has got their own things. We are connected through the intention of helping others and promote self-healing. So typically we are surrounded with people who are choosing this beautiful journey. But if somebody wants to experiment with other stuff, like I go to the gym and then I do experiment with really heavy weights. I mean, heavy for me. I'm not a weightlifter, but I can see that when I lift 100 kilos, that when I in the right frame, it's weightless. There's no weight to it. And when I'm just want to do it from here because I'm strong, I've been training, it's really heavy, even if I can do, and all the other things that I'm experimenting with. So it's this super fun stuff. It's super exciting. And I think everybody can find a way how to implement it in their life.
Well,
Yes.
we have found where people have studied martial arts for 30 years. I've seen people do things that were extraordinary, break things that should shatter your hand when you hit it. And I had a sensei once who could cover 50 feet and be in your face, and nobody in the room saw him move. He was 50 feet away, and he's in my face, taking it was a training for taking weapons away from people. He could cross 50 feet, remove the weapon from my hands faster than anybody could see him move. And like I say, but that's all he did. 30, 40, 50 years was martial arts to get there. And of course, your average soldier, he doesn't have 50 years to put into just that type of stuff. we have other things to do. But we're experimenting with it, and we're finding ways. The thing with precognition shocked us because we didn't expect to get there. But it's so common that it's crazy amongst the people who train this way, and they're getting there in 2 or 3 years worth of training, which is phenomenally fast compared to 30, 40 years of martial arts.
And there are maybe even quicker ways, because we're not all soldiers, we're not all martial art masters, and we haven't got 30 years to perfect all kind of techniques or what's beyond it. We are living this amazing human life where the greatest gift is just to experience how you can live your everyday life and connect other people and explore and discover what's beyond it. So I quite like that approach, and I not just believe, I'm absolutely certain that we don't need that much time. We don't need that endurance training. We don't need 30, 40 years of practice to put this in place. What needs is the experience of how to tune into this state. And yes, I have got a kind of method to do this, but then because we have to drop everything, sooner or later, that method has to be dropped as well. And everybody should say, okay, I breathe in and I'm there because I learned my way. So that's my ultimate goal. That's my challenge. That's my biggest joy to be able to help in this.
Hey, y'all, do you mind, David, if we take another caller? we have another caller that wanted to ask a
Yeah,
question.
no, I
We have-
realize that.
we have
I
a few
was just going to say you must have other callers.
Yeah, but I mean, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show and calling in. I really appreciate your stories. That's really phenomenal. Love it that you came and shared.
If you had questions, I could fill in more. I actually communicate in writing much clearer and not ramble so much. If you wanted, I could put some stuff in an email to you, since we've already talked once. I have your email.
That'd be great. Yeah, well, let's go ahead and
Okay.
take Alvin. We just have a few minutes, but thank you so much, David. Thank you. Yeah, is Alvin on the line?
Yeah, just taking a second to connect him here.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Just a few minutes left of the show. Alvin, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you today?
Hi. Good. Well, thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Do you have
This is a very intriguing discussion. I had an experience myself a few years ago. If I could share it with you, I'd love to share it with you.
Yeah, we have a few minutes before we have to end the show, but please share your experience.
Okay. So I went to this retreat, and as part of the retreat, we were doing like a meditation in the morning of some sort, and then a satsang in the afternoon. There's a big lag on when you speak and when I hear you, so that's difficult. But so during this meditation, it was an 8-day retreat, so about halfway through, we were doing this meditation to encourage to discover our own true nature. And as part of that, he was encouraging us, just as Dr. Judith mentioned, to just let go of everything. Like if you could find any trace of anything you're holding on to, just let it go. And when I did that, first there was like nothing, and then there was like this big love just came in, like divine love. It was so big and so all-encompassing, and I just started crying, and it was just the most amazing experience. And as part of this retreat, I'm also a Reiki practitioner and a quantum touch practitioner now. And I offered Reiki to this person who was telling a story about she had such hormonal imbalance that everything inside of her, she couldn't sleep for longer than a few minutes at a time and was in this awful state. So I felt this overwhelming sense of compassion for her and offered her Reiki. And she said, I don't usually accept it, but this time I will. So I did some Reiki with her, and this unbelievable love just kept pouring through me. And I could just feel this compassion for her. So the love came through, and we did it right before bed. So I spoke to her the next morning, and she said she only had 3 times where she woke up during the night, which sounded like a lot to me, but to her, this was amazing. And the next night, she actually slept right through the night for the first time in months. And I end up with a question. So I haven't been able to like duplicate that. So is there a way to sort of turn it on and turn it off?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We're running out of time. We only have 3 minutes left, but Judith is going to be teaching that in her workshop coming up in November, where, how to get into that state really readily. And that's what I love about our workshops. So, and I'm so sorry we're out of time, just a few more minutes, but that's a beautiful story. It's such a beautiful story. I just love it when you can tap into that state of love. And thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
So beautiful. Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm going to check out that workshop more.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I want to say thank you everyone for joining our show today. This has been an amazing discussion with our 2 callers, and Judith, thanks for sharing your story and taking your time to share this with the community, and really appreciate you being on the show. I'm hoping so many people will feel empowered moving forward and explore these states of consciousness and connect to our power. And it's so needed today in today's world. So Thank you everyone for being a part of the show. And
Thank you so much.
thank you for tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Quantum Touch Radio, supercharging your life with Jennifer and Noel Taylor. Tune in on transformationtalkradio.com as you take a quantum journey and tap into universal healing quantum touch principles to create an amazing supercharged life. For more information about Quantum Touch, visit quantumtouch.com, and remember, accelerate, revitalize, and engage in your supercharged life.